Welcome to the debut episode of a Pixel Perspectives podcast, where gamers meet society meets change. I am today's host, Vincent. Joining me are my co-host, Isaac and Xiaomain. Right, so before we begin, let's talk a bit about what Pixel Perspectives is. We're just a bunch of university students under the pressure of assignments and exams just like everybody else. So we figured, why not do something fun and educational? So here we are, turning our stress into something more, something creative, talking about the games we love, the ideas that move us, and hopefully entertaining you along the way. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the little bell icon so you can get the newest updates for our latest episodes. Remember to also follow us on Instagram at this name right here, and we will upload episode teasers, bloopers, and just general uni life updates on our Instagram. Now, let's get into one of the most thought-provoking games out there, Death Stranding, and what it can teach us about connection, loneliness, and healing. The rope, along with the stick, are two of mankind's oldest tools. The stick to keep the bad away, the rope used to bring the good towards us. They were our first friends of our own invention. Wherever there are people, there are the rope and the stick. That is a quote from Kobo Abe's Nawa. It is the idea that runs through the game Death Stranding and also through our own lives. Do we choose the stick, which pushes others away, or the rope, which pulls people closer? Now, I must first ask you guys, what is your first impression of the rope and the stick metaphor?
Well, my first impression of the rope and stick metaphor is that it's a really good metaphor, a really good representation for life. Although people often say like life is not that simple, it's not just black and white, there are gray areas, but still, it is a 2D spectrum where it's either more black or more white. And it's like rope and stick. You either, pull someone in or you keep someone away with the rope and stick. And that, I think, it's a really good representation of how we manage life.
Right, and Charming?
I think that's a really interesting metaphor, but personally, I feel like we don't really have to separate the uses of the stick and the ropes, because the first thing I think of when I look at these two things is just we can use them together and combine them to make one tool, and that's probably even more useful than just using one.
It's very interesting that you combined the rope and the stick to make a tool. And I think there's actually a very interesting dilemma in that, a rope is not necessarily used as just a tool to help other people. It also could be used as like a weapon. You might strangle somebody with it. Or the stick, which might not necessarily be used to like poke others away. You might be using it like a walking stick. You might be using it to like pull somebody else as well.
Barbecue?
So today's topic will be centered around the theme of isolation, and we'll be exploring what the game Death Stranding says about connection and separation. This hits us particularly hard as, not so long ago, we experienced a great COVID-19 pandemic. But first, let's introduce the game Death Stranding to you guys. Released in 2019, the same year as the pandemic, Death Stranding is set in a post-apocalyptic America. The legendary game director Hideo Kojima created a world wrecked by a supernatural event called the Death Stranding. People in the world have resorted to staying in isolated underground bunkers, while you, the player, play as Sam Porter Bridges, who is a courier tasked with delivering supplies to those in need and reconnecting the country's isolated cities. In essence, you rebuild the country of America by literally stepping all over the country. The gameplay, simple enough. You walk a lot. And by a lot, I mean a lot. You carry things, you balance yourself, and somehow through all that, you start piecing a broken world back together. It's weird, it's slow, and sometimes frustrating, but it is also deeply human. You feel every single step, every ounce of weight, and it starts to mean something. Now, what struck you guys the most about the game or the story when you guys first got into it?
The thing that I'm most impressed is actually how cinematic are the scenes in the game. And of course the story is really interesting. It kind of reminds me of how humans want to connect with each other, because the hard work Sam is doing just makes me feel like no matter how hard it is, humans just want to connect. So that's the thing I get most.
Yeah. What struck me the most is actually how intense the gameplay can be. When it first came out, I'm sure all of us have heard the reviews about this first Strand type game being
AKA walking simulator.
Yeah, being just a delivery simulator. You're just door dashing. You're just a Uber Eats driver, and people found it very boring. But I disagree. Most of the times, of course, you're walking, but there are still bits and pieces of intense battle that is put in, and this story is so captivating that I think it makes it more than enough makes up for the walking part. And personally, I like running, so I find that the just walking part itself is very chill, and it's still very entertaining actually.
Death Stranding is one of the most visually stunning games that I have played for quite a long time. In theory, it is just like green, like grassland, like generic grasslands. But the mountains that you go through, there are like snowy mountain peaks, there are different landscapes, and all combined, it made for a very visually striking and very aesthetically appealing game that I was not expecting. I was expecting like what everybody else thought, like a walking simulator where you just walk from point A to point B. But during the game, I found that I was actually constantly stopping to just look at the great vistas of the world. I would just look at the horizon and feel like, wow, what if I could be in a world like this? Maybe not struck by the Death Stranding, but just, a place like this.
These sceneries of being on a snow-capped mountain, walking along a river, it really motivated me to go touch grass. I feel like Sam also represents how fragile we can be, the duality of our pursuit in being connected. In the game, Sam has a condition called aphantasmophobia, which is basically a fear of being touched. And even though he is the key to connecting what once was the United States of America, he is still in real life afraid of actually establishing physical connections with people. I feel like his willingness to connect people, but also the fear of actually having a physical connection with people is really good representation of sometimes us. We might want to connect with others, but we are afraid of what's to come or so on.
It strikes me very deeply that even in a world that is literally ending, like in the world of Death Stranding, the world is ending, Sam is still attempting to connect with others, which reminds me of another world-ending condition that we just experienced a few years ago, which is the COVID-19. Let's address the elephant in the room. The game is very similar, or at least reminds us of the COVID-19 pandemic. When the pandemic hit, connection was redefined. Suddenly, life became about distance, and there were no more handshakes with friends, no more gatherings with family. The world felt eerily similar to that of Death Stranding, where people were hiding in bunkers and relied on distant connections. Most of the people you meet in the game are just nothing more than holograms. In the game, Sam acted as the rope between people. He connected isolated bunkers, carried essential deliveries across empty landscapes, and rebuilt the strands of a shattered society. Now, first of all, I want to ask you guys, did you guys play the game before or during or after the pandemic? When did you guys play the game?
Well, I actually played it after or near the end of the pandemic because I was waiting for the game to be released on Steam on PC.
I started playing the game this year, in the summer, because I think it was near the release of the second game, and then the first game had discount, so that's why I bought it.
Right, much like Chow Mein, I played this game just this year, very recently, before the sequel of the game actually came out, so I could catch up on the hype. I could understand what everyone was talking about, and I'm so glad I actually did play the game, so I could experience the relationship between people in the game. So let's talk about COVID. Were you guys reminded of the COVID era when you played the game?
Oh yeah, I remember. Just like how people in Death Stranding were hiding in bunkers, it reminded me how my math teacher conducted online lessons in his car in parking garage. A car and a bunker, they're quite similar.
Wait, so was your teacher just stuck in the car, in the garage somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, he was just sitting at the co-driver's seat, and then he had his iPad down, and then we can see his double chin, and for some reason the camera angle made it so that his face shape was like an eggplant. So we just start calling him Eggplant.
Now we know what the true victims of COVID are.
But seriously though, I mean, during the game, when you're walking, when you're delivering deliveries, you're walking all of the time by yourself, basically. And it's really similar to how it was during the pandemic. I mean, when you go onto the street, there's basically no one outside. And this isolation, this loneliness is really a mirror image between the game and the COVID.
What about you, Xiaoming? Were you reminded of the COVID era?
Same with Isaac. I think the thing that remind me the most of the reality is when I walked alone in a world with no one else, and that is really quiet. Reminds me of life during the pandemic. Not only when you walk on the street, it's like when you're stuck at home and then you have no one to talk to. That's the same feeling.
Yeah, it definitely feels very suffocating when you're stuck at home with no one else but maybe your family to talk to. Not to say that your family isn't good for you to talk to, but you can't really meet your friends in real life. You can't meet your teachers, your schoolmates in real life. So it definitely sucked for quite a long time. And I was reminded of that in the game. I was isolated the whole game, basically, until I stumbled across something that I would deem as some invisible kindness. The game is not set in a completely disconnected world. the game has a very intriguing system of connecting different players together. In traditional online games, we interact with other players by physically being able to see them, thus leading us to help or fight other players in the game world. However, game director Kojima had a different vision. He created something called the Strands system, where you cannot physically see other players in the game, but you can find traces of fellow players. You can find ladders, ropes, and other useful resources left by other players to aid you on the journey. You might be stranded in the rain when suddenly there's a rain shelter someone left behind, or maybe a bridge to get over a river, or a path just when you need it. You'll never know who placed it there, but it helps you all the same. I mean, of course you can do the same for other players by leaving behind your own utilities. This interaction of having strangers ease your path while doing the same for them is truly unique to this game. So, how do you guys feel about this game system? Would you rather have someone physically present in the world like a traditional multiplayer game, or a system like this where you can't really see other players but you can see what they left behind? For me, I feel like it's very hard to compare this to other games. It's very hard to judge whether one is better than the other since they serve very different purposes. For the game of Death Stranding, the game is about the world. The game is about the world itself, how the world is disconnected. I mean, in essence, Sam Porter Bridges, the main character of the game that you play as, he's not really the main character of the show. He's not the main star of the show. The world is. So I don't think it would really benefit the game if we can see other players physically. I mean, it would be cool to like occasionally see someone also on their mission to deliver the parcels or the deliveries. But I mean, there's already something that serves a similar function in the game where there are NPC non-player creatures. They're trying to deliver the same cargo as you. So, I mean, I don't think it's something that is needed in a game. So, what do you guys think is better, or can you not compare them?
Personally, definitely like playing multiplayer games more than just seeing things left by other players and not seeing them. But I do agree in this game, I think the stranding system is a lot more fitting than the traditional multiplayer game system because, like I just mentioned, in this game, one of the major feeling you will be getting is like feeling lonely. So if there are so many players beside you, I think the whole vibe is totally different. And so for this game in specific, I think the stranding system is better than the traditional way.
Yeah, and I feel like this system really sells the point of being connected because instead of just you building all the structures, sometimes the structures will be there for you, but it's not going to be complete and you will have to try to use those structures to make a thing for yourself. For example, I made a zipline network to traverse through the mountains. And I couldn't have done that without some other player's zipline that was already set up and left there. That really shows that connection isn't really possible without other people there to be connected with.
Right, and this sort of invisible kindness that other people left behind. For example, like your zipline system. I used a zipline system that was created by other players, but there were some points in the middle where it was not connected. And I helped contribute to that zipline system by making my own zipline station. So now I can traverse through the whole mountain on a zipline. And I couldn't have done that without the assistance of other players. It feels like we are in a group effort, although I can't really see them physically. And that reminded me of something. During COVID, do you guys have someone like Sam, like a person that helps you that kept you anchored and sort of connected to the world, while everything else felt so disconnected?
Well, for me, it's not particularly a person, but it's a group of people that I've met online. We play games a lot together, but they are not the same age as I am. They are a bit older. I think they're they're graduated university students, so they have more experience in dealing with crisis, I believe, and they offered a lot more experience generally in just how to deal with unexpected things in life. And gaming with them, talking to them, and it really helped me anchored to help me stay calm and sane during the COVID era.
Right. I too had a group of friends where we would play in a Minecraft server, like a multiplayer Minecraft server during COVID, where every single day I would log in, I would see, oh, my friend Peter has built something here. Oh, my other friend had built like a tower here. It kind of reminds me of this strand system in Death Stranding where, you can contribute to a world, but they might not necessarily be there. But my friend group at the time, they, they satisfied the need for me to like communicate with others. And it helped me sort of, painstakingly go through the whole COVID-19 without going insane. So I'm definitely very grateful for that. And what about you, Charmaine?
For me, it's my parents. At the time that you cannot physically meet anyone else, of course, my parents is the other ones that I see every day and take care of me every day. In that time, so many people are afraid of other people and afraid of getting infected by themselves. However, parents will take care of you even when you have COVID. So I think that's what warms me the most.
Yeah, talking about parents taking care of you, I want to add something about the strand system. Just like how parents love you unconditionally, take care of you unconditionally without asking for any repayment, the strand system is similar to that by representing true kindness in that players put down structures, they give out supplies without asking for anything in exchange because, they aren't there or they can't or they won't ask for it. And this strand system, I think the lack of asking for things equal in value for exchange for kindness really shows what true kindness means is that you give without necessarily taking anything. You just give in the hope of being kind.
And something very underappreciated about kindness is how it helps us sort of recover from a dire situation, how it heals us in the future. So let's move on to our next session about healing through connection. Throughout the game, Sam's journey slowly shifts from isolation to reconnection. What began as a lonely, burdensome mission evolves into a story about trust and strength found in unity. Every delivery, every bridge built, and every like received from other players he's never met becomes a small symbol of healing, both for Sam and the world he's piecing back together. The more connections Sam rebuilds, the more the landscape changes, not just physically, but emotionally. As players, we might also feel this. We might start off focused on progress and missions, but after a while, those mysterious ladders and highways become reminders that others are walking the same path. The awareness that we're never truly alone is profoundly moving. This transformation reflects a simple truth. Healing doesn't happen alone. It only happens when we choose to reach out. And I think that is something that we all need right now, especially when university deadlines, stress, and work fatigue pile up. Connection can be healing, even in small forms, maybe something as simple as a group chat message, a meme, or a random coffee invite. Now, what is one way that you guys have felt connected recently, even through small interactions? Well, I will start first. It is something that my friends did. It's something very little. Like, we don't always hang out outside in person because of our conflicting schedules. But whenever someone sends in like a random meme or like a random IG reel post or like a message like good luck on your deadlines in the group chat, it feels really reassuring that, it's such a small thing, but every time the notification pops up, it reminds me that we are all surviving in the same chaos together. Even when we are not physically in the same room, there's that sense of, yeah, I'm not doing this alone. Someone is suffering with me. But yeah, do you guys have something similar to that?
Yeah, well, for those of you who know me, you know that I've started running this year. Around this year, I've been running for a year right now, and I've been training up to a full marathon recently. And so during one of my runs, on my usual route, I pass through this bus depot, and when I run, there's usually a bus going in and out. But for the past week, twice, when I was about to cross an opening, there's a bus that's trying to come in. And usually in Hong Kong, you give way to the cars, of course. But on 2 occasions, the bus driver actually stopped and waved me through. He told me to go ahead first. And it's very small, but it made me feel really connected with the bus driver. I mean, we live such different lives. He's a bus driver, of course. I'm a university student who's running and stuff. And although our lives are so different, we're connected by kindness in this moment. And yeah, it feels really interesting.
Okay, so for me, me and my friends are really stressed lately because of all the deadlines and my science quizzes and all the schoolwork. But there's one interaction between me and a friend of mine who likes drawing like me. So recently, I'm learning how to do animations and drawings. And one time in my free time, I drew an original character and then sent it to her. And then she actually redrew my character in her style. And I think that's really cute. And I was so happy for that. And also one time she drew an eye, just an eye. And then I animated that and then sent it to her as a gift. So
And something really fun is that, like, hearing your experience, I'm sure that you were actually part of your friend's kind of healing process. Your friend was actually experienced as much joy as you are from that interaction. And sometimes I realize that we are a part of someone else's healing without knowing it. So there was this one time that, a friend of mine told me like months later after we did like a group project or something, that something I said, like a passing sentence I said, actually helped her through a rough patch. Like she was experiencing something that is really tough at the time. I don't even remember the conversation. I think it's something like, oh, you're doing great. Oh, don't stress it too much. But then, it really affected her in how she did things. And it's really stuck with me that what a throwaway comment to us can actually mean a lot to someone else. It made me more mindful about what I say and how I treat other people, because you never really know the impact you're having. Sometimes you're someone's rope without realizing it. I think it's about time we move to our conclusion. As we wrap up our discussion, let's return to the metaphor that started it all, the rope and the stick. Death Stranding challenges us to ask, are we pulling people closer or pushing them away? Death Stranding might be a game about a courier just walking across land, but it really presents us with this question. What kind of person do we want to be? The one who isolates or the one who connects? Kojima's world may be fictional, but its reflections on loneliness and togetherness are undeniably real. The game reminds us that connection isn't weakness, it's courage. It's admitting that we can't do everything alone and that it's okay to reach out, even when it feels uncomfortable. Choosing to trust, to help, to rebuild. In a society that often feels fragmented, especially after COVID-19. Thanks for listening to our very first episode of Pixel Perspectives. As a reminder, we're just a few uni students trying to survive our assignments and make something fun, creative, and even meaningful along the way. If you like what you heard or watched, drop us a thumbs up, subscribe for future episodes, and follow us on Instagram at this name right here, where we post updates, behind-the-scene clips, and the occasional struggle post. Remember, every bridge you build, every act of kindness you share, becomes a strand in someone else's world. This has been Pixel Perspectives. I'm your host Vincent, accompanied by my co-host Isaac and Charmaine. Until next time, keep choosing the rope.